Welcome back to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Last time we begun part 2, and Elincia got into a bit of a scuffle with Bednion Draco Knights in Crimean airspace. This time it's going to be time for something completely different. As she said, discontent is on the rise and unrest is brewing.
Queen Elincia encounters and defeats a wing of Bednion Draco Knights trespassing in Crimean skies. After rescuing Chamberlain Mialucci and Princess Leanne, she invites them to be her guests at the royal court. While Elincia's show of loyalty to her Laguz allies causes an uproar among the nobles at court, they are aware that the Heron Princess is under the mutual protection of the mighty Laguz Hawk King and Raven King. Because of this, there is no public show of distaste. However, dissatisfaction with Elincia's rule now spreads from a single faction to a larger group. Crimea's unity is slowly rotting from within. This discord begins to be felt even in country hamlets, like the farming village of Oma.
Hang on a minute, we know where that village is. We know who lives there. Even if you didn't play the last game, Meg brought it up. So here we are in old country Oma. I'm sorry, I won't do that very much. And this is one of the rare cases where you see a character in a Fire Emblem game out of their armor, like in actual casual clothes. And this guy is not to be confused with Jacob from Fates. That guy was named Joker in the Japanese version, so no relation at all to this guy. And yes, I hope you like country dialects, because you'll be seeing a lot of it in this chapter. Nephany, however, we don't get to see in casual clothing. I can really see this conversation going like, Nephany running in going, "Brom, they're revolutionaries running wild!" And then Brom's like, "Ha, that's a good one. Revolutionaries running wild!" And then sees some revolutionaries running, "Neph, get my axe." So yeah, revolution. And this isn't the kind that was in Ace Attorney's Spirit of Justice. Elincia's been doing her best, but as you can tell, an unknown heir coming out of nowhere is going to cause a lot of discontent. And she is very young. As I said earlier, I like how this part basically deconstructs the whole, we instill a rightful heir to the throne, and suddenly the country magically becomes better. It doesn't really work like that. In fact, it causes significant problems. So yeah, our actions in part 1 again have caused issues for Crimea. And this line is really interesting. Another thing I like about part 2 is showing the darker side of Ike's actions in the last game. Even though Ike probably never would have foreseen consequences like this, the fact that his name is now being used to stir up rebellion against Queen Elincia is just really interesting. Just how many of these people completely missed the point of what Ike was doing in the last game. And Brom's fully armored now. And yes, as I hinted before, Brom is an axe general this time, not a lance general, to differentiate him from Toroniu, and someone else we'll be seeing later. Yeah, Nephany came prepared. These lines make a lot of sense if you use Nephany in Path of Radiance. They're like, hey, it's one of the greatest heroes of the war, she's come to join us! She's gonna Vantage Wrath everyone! Actually, no. These two knew Elincia personally, and they're not gonna take kindly to her name being slandered. Unfortunately, this guy is really good at twisting words to his favor. Yes, a couple of farmers are agents of the Queen. I mean, Bastion would, but Elincia wouldn't. We're not exactly going to do that. Unfortunately, he's fully mobilized these guys against us. There's that expletive again. So this line's actually a hint at one of the bonus experience conditions of this chapter. And speaking of this chapter, it's very unique for a lot of reasons. Not least of which is that the other theme is actually our player phase theme. It fits with us just being villagers. So, if we press start here, also, either of Brom or Nephany dying is a game over, but notice how this doesn't say any ally dies? There's a reason for that. Also, if you look closely, you'll see that we have 20,000 gold, which is kind of stupid, seeing as we're just a couple of farmers. That's our gold for Part 2 in general, which is shared between every Part 2 party. In Part 2, we control a number of different sub-parties. In this case, it's the villagers. So, this is what I wanted to show here. The enemies are divided into rebels and volunteers. Now, they're not marked as such on their name tags, but you can tell them by the outfits they wear. Rebels have white armor and are also this mage. The volunteers are these two Myrmidons and these two fighters. They have more generic red and brown armor. The volunteers are worth 400 bonus experience, at least on easy and normal, each if they survive the chapter. It's hard to guarantee that because some of them will go for you on sight, so you'll need to watch out for that. But try and save as many of them as you can, because they're worth a ton of bonus experience. However, they also carry items, so you've got to make a decision here, bonus experience or items. The boss here, Yardley, he has 1-star authority, but it only affects rebels, not volunteers. On turn 7, a bandit is going to spawn here, which means if we haven't saved this village by then, the village is guaranteed to be destroyed, so I need to get down here by turn 7. The fact that this village is blocked by a volunteer, though, is not going to be a big deal later on for a certain reason. So, the main annoying factor about this chapter is that the volunteers' AI, specifically these two near your starting position, is extremely random. I have no idea what influences their AI. I have done the exact same moves on turn 1 multiple times, and the volunteers have done completely different things. Sometimes the volunteers remain stationary for the first 7 turns, sometimes they attack me on turn 1. It's incredibly confusing, and I have no idea how it works. I have a strategy for this chapter, but it requires this guy to move on turn 1, and he usually doesn't. I needed to practice this chapter quite a lot. It's a lot more frustrating than I thought it was. Well, normally it's not, but if you're going for all villagers and maximum bonus experience, this chapter is a complete pain. So, firstly I'll show off Nephany and Brom's stats. Nephany's stats are slightly higher than her bases, because she got transfer bonuses for me to strength, skill, and speed.
Yeesh. Can't make out half of what these Castlebreds say.
Back in Path of Radiance, Nephany was held back by the game being so dominated by mounted units. Radiant Dawn isn't, and that combined with a lot of other factors make Nephany actually pretty amazing in this one. She has relatively solid base stats even without transfers, she starts at a low level so she has a lot of room to grow. She has crazy skill and speed growths, and in this game she has a very good resistance growth too, meaning she makes a pretty good mage killer later on. And her low strength and defense growths are offset by how quickly she camps other stats, letting you easily bonus experience those stats up. She also has really solid availability. She's usable for a lot of Part 2, and she joins the Part 3 party quite early in that one. So she's usable for most of that part as well. She's locked into Lancers still, but between Great Lancers, Throwing Lancers, and the Wishblade actually being obtainable during the main story this time, that's not that big of a detriment, I find. She still has Wrath, but as I've said many times, Wrath is not as good in Radiant Dawn as it was in the last game. Of course, later in the game, good luck getting Nephany down to Wrath range, because very little will be able to hit her. By the end of the game, her stats aren't remarkable in any area, but she's very solid all round. And she's also one of the few characters to have solid stats in both defense and resistance. Thanks mainly to her good availability, Nephany is a really good choice in this game, I find. And here's Braum. He doesn't have transfer bonuses in this file. Braum is only okay, I find, in this game. He's fairly decent during Part 2, but even then he has to compete with a lot of other powerful tanks. Even Neolucci, when transformed, has only one less defense than him. And in terms of growths, Braum doesn't really excel in anything except for HP, luck, and defense. And I don't really count the defense because most other generals have almost as much or as much defense growth as he does while having better growths elsewhere. So the only real thing he has over them is luck, and slightly different caps, and access to a better axe rank. Like Nephany, Braum has very nice availability too. Unfortunately for him, rejoining in Part 3 is a bit of a problem, because that means he instantly has to compete with the starting general for the Part 3 party, who is absolutely amazing by general standards. Braum is, however, one of the few returning characters from Path of Radiance to have actually gained a skill, and it's a skill new to Radiant Dawn, Disarm. This gives you a skill over 2% chance of forcing the enemy to unequip their weapon when you attack them. It's very unreliable, but this skill combines well with a thief. You can disarm the enemy and then steal their weapon. And this combo is the only way to access certain types of weapons in this game, like poisoned ones. And if you don't steal the enemy's weapon, they'll just equip it back again during their next turn. Oh, and obviously this only works on Beorc enemies. Overall, Braum is, like I said, only okay in my opinion. He's definitely not terrible, and he's certainly better than his daughter. But if you really want a general, there's a certain other character who's very hard to compete with. And Braum doesn't exactly offer that much unique when this character isn't present either. I'm going to be leaving here, and I'll cut back to my successful attempt, because I feel like this is going to take me a few tries. So the first thing that I want to do here is I'll have Braum visit this village. There will be a bandit that spawns here on turn 7 as well, so I need to make sure both these villages are secured. Now, normally I'd have Braum unequip his weapon this turn, but I actually can't do that because this village contains an axe for Braum, and in fact I won't demonstrate that now. Basically, if Braum unequipped his weapon here, he would automatically equip the steel axe that he gets from this village, and I just spoiled what it gives you, but anyway, I've played this chapter a lot at this point. Don't worry, this village will be peaceful soon. So yeah, Braum would have automatically equipped this if he unequipped his Iron Axe. Next, I'm going to have Nephany kill this guy. And now, my plan here relies on that fighter to move on the first turn. If he does, I'm set. If he doesn't, that's bad. But, finally, Nephany returns. And she's arguably, well, not arguably, she's even more awesome in this game. In the last game, she suffered from not being mounted. Here, she doesn't really have that drawback, because mounted units aren't as good, and she just has great stats all round in this one. Okay. The archer is moving. What I really need to happen is for that fighter to move. Because like I said, he's incredibly unpredictable. Sometimes he moves, sometimes he doesn't. Okay, you're moving. Now, will the fighter move? If I'm lucky, we'll see a certain aspect of Braum's here that might come into play later in the chapter, but no, I didn't get it. No, the fighter didn't move. That messes with my plans a lot. I'll just play on a little bit to see if I can salvage this. But anyway, let's see if Nephany can finish off this archer. Oh yeah, so one other annoying thing about this chapter is that it's very biorhythm dependent, seeing as we only have 2 characters. If Nephany or Brom is in bad biorhythm or the enemies are in good biorhythm, especially due to Nephany's Great Lance, her accuracy can have issues, and if she misses, like for example, if she missed that archer then she would have died. Anyway, come on fighter, please move. Good, you're moving. So, next step is to have Nephany approach that ledge and drop down as soon as she can. But she can't get all the way up to the ledge. Also, yeah, the one constant about the Rebels AI is that they will run away and heal if they can. And I'll need to make sure you get lured back down because later on, because I don't want you up in this area. I want this area to be completely clear of volunteers. So Nephany, like I said, is going to go all the way over here, but not to the very edge, because if she does, this mage will go here and attack her from below, and he'll block the ledge, and she'll never be able to jump down the ledge. So I have to send her down here, and let's see. For now, Brom's going to visit this village. Don't worry, we'll be saving your sis soon. We're getting a Shera icon for that, which really isn't that good, but I want to save all the villages. I'm gonna unequip that just because. Okay, you didn't block anywhere that I needed to go. I also really don't want you jumping down, though. That would actually end really badly. Okay, so hopefully at this point, both of you guys just go for Brom all the time. Hey, Rebel, you want to go? I'm going to be keeping Brom unequipped for the rest of the chapter, because we really don't need to see his battle animations. Oh, great. Okay, so Nephany has to stay unequipped this turn if she jumps down. Otherwise, she will kill that fighter. Believe me, I have had that fighter end up get steel Great Lanced many times in the past, so gotta make sure she's unequipped. There's another reason why Nephany is going down here, and that will come into play eventually. It's the reason why I'm not too worried about this village being guarded by a volunteer. However, the volunteer has now moved. And here's Heather, although I just realized that volunteer moving is kind of bad because it means I can't kill the mage this turn. Otherwise, I'll end up killing him. So, here's Heather. Thankfully, she doesn't get a phase on her first turn. I really hope she doesn't go for the volunteer, though. She usually likes to prioritize stealing over fighting. But, as you can probably tell, she's recruitable. You need to talk to with either Brom or Nephany. I might show her recruitment with Brom in bonus footage. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and visit this village now. I really want to visit the other village, though, because that one's also in immediate danger from bandits. Anyway, yes, we have heard of Miss Khalil. In fact, Nephany was a support partner for her in the last game. So, as this line implies, this is a magic card. Magic card makes you think it's like Black Lotus and worth like a bajillion gold or something. Anyway, this is a Spectre card, which is actually the weakest level of card. It's a little worse than the one that we got in 1 endgame. So, that might be somewhat okay later on, but for now, I just need to make sure... Okay, firstly, I think I'm going to try and lure in you, just so that you don't end up killing yourself on Heather. Because this guy usually attacks me if I put Brom here, but sometimes he doesn't, which is really stupid. Like I said, these volunteers' AI is really unpredictable and really, really irritating to have to deal with. Okay, you're attacking, which means that hopefully the Myrmidon volunteer is also going to attack. Yes, he is. Good. I like to lure this guy down with Brom so that the upper area becomes clear. Okay, Heather, what are you doing? So, as you can tell, Heather has pass, and this is the reason why... am I going to get there in time? This is the reason why she's great for rescuing this village, because she can just slip past this volunteer without worrying about killing him. Oh, crap. Oh, crap! I can't get through the priest, and I can't attack him, otherwise the volunteer will die. Oh, that's unfortunate. You know, though, if I put Brom here, I wonder if that volunteer will jump up the ledge and attack Brom, seeing as he's unarmed. I guess we'll have to try. Because, yeah, you want to get to Heather quickly. In fact, I think I've already failed this, because if I don't get to... Heather's gone too far to block off the village with the bandits. That's why I want to get to Heather quickly. There is another reason why you want to get to Heather quickly, and that's because if you're not careful, she will attack the boss and provoke the boss and his lackeys into moving, and then she's very likely to just die, so... obviously don't do that. Okay, moment of truth. Yes, that is exactly what I wanted you to do, although Brom at this point is pretty much fully trapped. What are you doing? That actually helps me a lot. I don't like the fact that you killed the mage and not Nephany, but that actually does help me a lot. She usually goes to steal the healing items from the volunteers. But what I can do now is I can have her rescue that village and unequip her weapon, though Nephany is going to be slowed down a little bit by talking to her. Like I said, I'll be showing her recruitment conversation with Brom in extra footage because it's very different. If you recruit her with Brom though, you can have her talk to Nephany later. Nephany is pretty much the sole reason she's recruitable at all, as you'll see. And Nephany is still embarrassed about her accent and is trying to take Khalil's proper speaking lessons to heart. Yeah, Heather is very different towards Brom. She's like, oh, get away from me, you country hick. So, if you talk with Brom, Brom actually explains something here that you can do with Heather in this chapter, but it's a bit unreliable. I'll talk about it after the recruitment's over. So also, this line here brings up certain implications about Heather. I'll just say it here. Heather is the first openly gay character in Fire Emblem. There have been ambiguous characters before, like Legoth from FE7. But Heather is pretty much outright confirmed to be a lesbian. And these are her stats. Heather really only exists to be a thief while Soth isn't around. That's pretty much all there is to her from a gameplay standpoint. She opens chests and she steals things. This ability combines well with Brom's disarm skill in Part 2, letting her steal quite a few weapons from enemies. And because she's part of Part 2's sub-faction that joins up with the Part 3 party early on, she'll be your main thief for most of that part as well. Her starting pass skill can be very useful in certain circumstances, letting her get where she needs to go without worrying about enemies blocking her. If you like Heather though, the sad thing is she's more of a utility unit than an actual combat one. Her strength growth is very low, and while you can cap that easily with bonus experience, she suffers from the same issues Soth does. Her strength cap in 3rd tier is terrible, and 3rd tier rogues have a really bad mastery skill. The main issue when it comes to training Heather though, is that there's really no point seeing as the game gives you a 3rd tier rogue for free in Soth, and Soth is also forced to endgame. Heather's there to fulfill thief duties while Soth isn't around, but because he will be during endgame regardless of whether you want him or not, there's really no point in bringing Heather there unless you just really like her. And the fact that she's the only knife user in this game who requires investment to promote to 3rd tier is also a point against her. It's a shame since she's actually a pretty interesting character in my opinion, but in general, you're really only using her when you have no other option for a thief. So first thing she's going to do, just in case you end up jumping down and going for a low defense, she's going to unequip her weapon before visiting this village. This medicine's going to be really helpful to Heather later, and yeah, this is the sister that we heard from before, so thankfully we saved her sister earlier. They're both okay. And yeah, Brom is completely stuck, and he's going to be spending the rest of the chapter like this, hopefully. Another benefit of him being unarmed is we don't need to watch battle animations every time he gets attacked. So here are the bandits. Normally this would be really bad, but because of Heather's pass skill, she can slip straight past that guy and block off the village from being attacked. I'll still unequip her weapon though. Although, wait a minute, let me just quickly see. Yeah, only one thing will be able to attack her. This bandit, I'll just quickly preview, does quite a bit of damage to Heather, and that's why it's good for her to grab the concoction. But I'll unequip her weapon just in case one of the fighters decides to be an idiot up here. So, now that everyone's been lured down, I'll need to just be careful of these guys. This mage is really weird. He only attacks you if you're directly in his range. He never seems to move. None of these guys do. But we can slip straight past them. And now that none of the volunteers are up here, I can have Nephany head up towards this area. Because there's another interesting quirk about the AI in this chapter that I'll explain in a moment. But first I need to save this village. Thank goodness for Heather's pass. If she didn't have that, this would be so much harder. My end goal with Heather is to have her rescue that village and just stay there and just get attacked by that bandit for the rest of the chapter. And keep chucking her concoction where possible. In fact, I can't save the village yet because she'll die to the bandit, so I need to use the concoction now. So now is the time when Nephany sneaks in here to get to the boss and his lackeys. So this group over here, Yeardley and his 2 soldiers, they only start moving and initiating attacks with you when the boss gets attacked. Not the 2 soldiers, the boss. So I like to abuse this to have Nephany slip in and pick off the boss's lackeys one by one. Because you can just do that all you want, and the boss and the other guys won't even move. It's pretty strange. Okay, I'm going to have Brom use a herb here. No, wait, I said it wrong. An herb. I'm going to have him use an herb. So I guess while I don't have much to talk about, you might be wondering if Leon counts as the first openly gay Fire Emblem character because he was in Gaiden. He didn't have a personality at all until Echoes, though, so I don't count him until that game. I don't think he ever said anything after you recruited him in Valbar in the original game. And yeah, he certainly wasn't implied to be in love with Valbar in that game, in the original at all, because he had no personality whatsoever. You can steal a coin from this guy, but first I'm going to visit the village, because that has all the villagers locked down. This bizarre man is probably going to be the one that we end up fighting very soon. As in the boss of this chapter, not the boss of this part overall. So it's important that you do this, because it's a javelin for Nephany, though good luck getting it to Nephany if you're using my strategy. In the next chapter's base, we don't have access to a shop, so you need to be very careful of your weapons here, so any extra weapons really help. So what I like doing here is to go into this thicket. Okay, let me just check biorhythm. Okay, one of who's in good biorhythm. I want to check out what your biorhythm... Okay, your biorhythm's heading down, which is good. Yours is going to be in best for a while, and yours is going to be in bad for a while, and Nephany is going to be in best soon. That's good. Yeah, the annoying thing about this chapter is that it is very biorhythm dependent, but here I like having Nephany sneak into the grass and pick off this guy's soldiers one by one. Like I said, they're not going to initiate attacks with you at all until you fight the boss. I kind of wish the soldiers in the stealth chapter in Path of Radiance worked that way. Never, actually, as long as you one round killed them, they wouldn't sound the alarm. Okay, things are pretty much fine here. Brom's just going to stay where he is. I normally like killing these guys for more experience, but I think I'm going to have to hold off. So, also you might be wondering about the turn limit in this chapter. It's an extremely generous 15 turns. Yeah, they really expect you to take your time with this one. So don't worry about the turn limit. It's very easy to make that, even if you're taking your time saving the villagers and doing this to avoid killing volunteers. I normally wouldn't do this, because the Vigilantes back in Path of Radiance 11 I didn't really consider all that worth it. But here, they're worth an absolutely massive 400 bonus experience each, so I like to save the volunteers in this one. Alright, next step is... Right, let's see. I have to be careful here because this guy plus the boss will kill Nephany, even for full HP. So, best case scenario, and unfortunately this guy's in good biorhythm, the best case scenario is that Nephany kills this guy and then there's just the boss. And that way Nephany's pretty much perfectly safe. Now if Nephany had the javelin from Heather it would be great, but Heather's a little stuck right now. Actually not really because she has pass, but I'm not going to get the javelin to Nephany before the chapter's over anyway. I could try using the Spectre card for a whopping 2 damage. That's useful. Okay, you're just in bad, you're not in worse biorhythm yet. As weird as it sounds, I might actually wait out another turn just to make sure that Nephany's in best and the boss is in worst. Actually, really weird that I'm working biorhythm into my strategies here. And, yeah, use 13 and fine to steal your coin this turn. And I'm just going to stay here and use a vulnerary. While I have nothing else to talk about, I find this enemy phase fanfare to be one of the weirdest in the game. It sounds like cows mooing. And we'll be hearing this fanfare for the rest of Part 2, because it's the faction theme for the Crimean rebels. It's just such a weird fanfare. I mentioned earlier that I find one of the enemy phase fanfares to be incredibly weird. This is the one. Okay, so now... Okay, you're only in... Oh, right, Nephany's never in best. Forgot about that. But you can certainly be in worst, which is good. Because, yeah, that makes my chances of fighting you extremely, promising. Okay, hit rates are a little shaky here. I only need 1 dodge. Like, best case scenario is Nephany dodges this and kills him. The problem is I'm banking on a 50% hit rate, and if I get hit, I die to the boss. Well, if the boss hits me. It is basically 2 50s. They both have to hit in order for Nephany to die here. Should I bank on that? I'm actually gonna go for that. Come on, please either miss or Nephany get a critical. Or no, crit from Nephany. Good, okay, I'm perfectly safe now. I normally like for Nephany to be getting a little more experience than this in this chapter, but this is fine. I'll be getting a ton of bonus experience anyway. And Brom's okay, Heather's okay. Heather can probably start. No, she can't, because then she'll get attacked by multiple things. Yeah, she'll stay there. The safest place for her is being up against a house with a bandit. So, because you only have 3 characters in this chapter, every boss conversation with this guy is a unique one. But all of them reveal the same information. Yardley is kind of an idiot and is the master of I'll never tell you what I'm telling you. Every single person who attacks him manages to unintentionally get this information out of him, although Heather's is easily the best. I'll probably show Heather's in bonus footage. Yeah, about that. Nephany, if you've seen my Path of Radiance playthrough, you'll know she's pretty awesome, so good luck with that. And I guess your biorhythm must have changed because you're a bit of a higher hit rate. And they both missed. Okay, I actually need to hit 2 attacks next turn. And nice dodge there. Meanwhile, everything's just going to attack Brom here. And I should definitely make the turn limit. Also, get used to having the other phase theme as your player phase theme, because this is, I believe, the last time that ever happens. I can't actually attack you on my phase, because if I do and get hit, then I might die on the enemy phase. So, I actually have to wait, and I still have 2 turns to do this. Yeah, see, now he's moving. Him and his soldiers start moving once he takes damage. I was about to mention Nephany's Wrath, but that wasn't even Wrath. Sadly, Nephany also suffers from the Wrath nerf, just like Edward does. If it wasn't nerf, she'd be in Wrath right now. Okay, come on, please be a better level up than my earlier attempt at this. Equally bad. Okay, then. And with that, it's chapter over. So, yeah, that chapter is a pain if you're trying to do a 100% run of it. Thankfully, these volunteers don't die. Neffany knows to hold back against them because, as you'll see in the dialogue here, she only hurt his leg. No, I actually saved all of you. Please be more grateful. I like this speech, though. I'm sure many people laugh at that line. So with that, we have news of a rebellion, and we know exactly who's behind it. But first, some talk with Not Butler from Fates here. Yeah, you're probably branded as spies for the Queen and have rebels hunting you down at this point. Even if the majority think that, it just takes one noble who doesn't to stir up resentment. And then everything can come crashing down. These two have to warn the Queen about this. Although, she's probably suspected this has been coming for a long time. Oh, on this attempt, I gained an extra 5 bonus experience because Heather killed something, but yes, this is the maximum amount of bonus experience that you can get from that chapter, so that's quite a lot, and you definitely want that because bonus experience will be very useful later on when people start capping stats. So with that is the rebellion in Oma Village over, but now Brom and Neffany have to warn the Queen. We'll see what she does about the whole situation next time. So, obligatory mention of the fact that some people think this line was censored in the English version, and in the Japanese version she more directly implied she didn't like men at all. The thing is, the source for that actually mistranslated yasashi as ureshi. They mistranslated the line so that it was, I'm not happy unless it's girls, when actually what she's saying is, I don't play nice unless it's with girls. i.e., I'm not going to go easy on you since you're not a girl. It still pretty heavily implies her orientation, but it's not quite as direct as many people think it is in the Japanese version. Okay, good, the fighter is moving. The fighter is moving. That's exactly what I needed. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I find this is the weirdest enemy phase fanfare in the entire game. It sounds like a cow mooing. It's really bizarre. Oh, great, this archer. I like to get rid of this archer quickly because he actually hits Nephany pretty hard. Oh, speaking of which, I forgot to show the two bios of these guys. The movement AI on the enemies in this chapter is also very strange. Sometimes the volunteers don't move, sometimes they do. Anyway, I'll just send Heather down there for now, and Brom is gonna actually have to lure in this volunteer now. I think Brom will be fine not using his Herb. Who am I kidding? It has 10 uses, I might as well. Now that mage is kind of weird. He never attacks you unless you're directly in his range. He won't ever move from the looks of things. What? What did I say about the volunteers' AI being completely unpredictable and idiotic? This is the first time I've ever seen you not attack Brom when I put him there. Oh, this chapter's AI, seriously, I hate it so much. It just makes a perfect run of the map so irritating. Okay then. That's actually good because oh, I've lost the village. Yeah, I have to restart this because there's no way I'm saving it now. Yeah, this bandit spawns in a position where he's guaranteed to get the village, so that's annoying.